industry, right? Becomes half the job.
1,000%. You gotta start thinking like that right now, because the ones that I work with that are really making things happen and moving right now, they understand it is a talent war, right? It really is. To get the best of the best, you gotta get them over, especially when you want to start building out your sales team.
Yep, 100%. So
that's key.
Hopefully that's 2025. How you been, man?
God, slammed. How about you?
Good. Also, just a lot of pots on the fire right now, which is good. Just kind of it's a combination of like biz dev and also building out product.
Awesome. Here's another CEO needs help. This guy wants 5 salespeople. On a call. So usually I usually give people like 5-7 minutes to come in, and then hey Kelly.
Howdy doody.
How you doing?
I'm living the dream.
Meet Adam. Adam, he owns a logistics software company. And Kelly used to work in logistics. Now she's a recruiter too.
I went
from the dark side to the
I was gonna say went to the dark side.
I have enough gray hairs to prove that I moved a lot of freight over 15 years.
Yeah. At some point, you have to make a switch for your health. That's
but you know what? It's golden handcuffs.
Yep. No, it's true. Really? It's true. Well, the nice thing is that it seems like there's always work to do in logistics, right? Which is, you're always busy, which I feel like a lot of careers don't have that luxury.
Yeah, I mean, I got smart early on, and I decided to focus on aviation, aerospace.
Oh wow!
It's a tight community, but all the connections. But you're not shipping a container from Hong Kong to Miami for $150. Now you're shipping an aircraft engine from Istanbul to Miami for $25,000, and it's a 2-day shipment. So.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, when quality becomes, and like it's a better opportunity to differentiate than in like that really commoditized,
right?
Volume mill.
It's tough though, because you can write every SOP in the entire universe, but you've got 20,000 people handling your one shipment that's worth $11 million, and things go wrong. And who do they yell at? Little Kelly. So there's nothing in the recruiting world that can shake me up. I've been,
battle tested.
Everything. Yeah. And I don't get woken up at 3:00 in the morning for recruiting needs.
So. Kelly, I was just talking to a candidate. He basically did like the job of 10 people. And then they had 3 owners. One of the guys, hated him. The other 2 loved him. Well, they took him out of the spot because they thought he was getting paid too much, and now they're like begging him to come back.
Yeah.
And I go, that's what happens when you don't know what's going on in the company.
Yeah. And I talked to all these reps that are doing these cradle to grave type of shipments or positions. And I'm like, how do you have time to sell?
Yeah. Right. Hey, Julian. Hey, everyone. I can't hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, Ernie.
There we go. Sorry about that. Hey, Dom. How's it going?
Hey, Julian. We'll give a couple minutes, and then you can get rolling.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, I think because I invited a couple of logistics people in here too, because a lot of them don't even know about the automation game on LinkedIn. Be surprised.
Sounds good.
I'm like, this could work for any industry, right? Really, I should start inviting everyone.
Yeah, totally. It's if you find something that works, next step is figuring out a way to automate it, right?
Yeah, I think here's the biggest problem with all these everything coming out, right? Everyone's getting drawn into these new shiny AI buzzword tools, right? But I've known you for what, 3 years now? From day one when you first started? Now look where you're at now.
Yeah. I think we sent you like a cold email like 3 years ago or something, and then we just started.
Hit it off, and I'm stuck on the phone with Canadians today. 5 Canadians already this morning.
I sell the LinkedIn automation strategy actually to my logistics freight customers to train their sales team. Because if I was going to go back into freight, this is exactly how I would do it, just like recruiting.
Oh yeah. If everyone wants to drop their LinkedIn profile in the chat, then I'll send it to everyone. You can connect with everyone.
Hey Dom, it's Stephanie. I don't think we've ever actually met over video.
No,
So,
I don't think I have. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, did my supply chain candidate reach out to you?
That is a good question.
I'm the lone career counselor executive coach, I think, in the group. But
well, this will help you too. This will help.
Well, I'm working on a class on how AI is changing recruiting.
Oh yeah.
For my candidates, because it's getting crazy out there in the ATS world. So.
Oh, I just made a post about it today. There's a guy I talked to. One company, 38 years, was referred by the C-suite to apply. Goes and applies. They get the auto rejection letter. He calls his buddy. He goes, "What the hell happened here?" He goes, I don't know. Let me ask my recruiter. And guess what? He got the job. And I think that recruiter might be getting. It's not her fault, right? They have 20 roles they're responsible for. They have thousands of candidates coming in with AI tailored resumes. The CEO let go of a lot of the recruiters, and now they have one or two and think that they can do it with that. Can't. You have to be eyes, ears, boots on the ground all day.
Well, the new systems are saying that they can bypass the keywords and translate them into skills, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Well, I'll show you. There's AI that I'm meeting with this guy again. It's not out yet, but it's going to be pretty scary when it comes out. Some recruiters will probably get replaced.
Yeah, I'm there, dude. Like,
yeah,
the ones, right? Like everyone who I know, like they're down from their internal recruiting departments are like half or a third of what they used to be.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
it's
in
happening.
Tech. In tech, they've really gotten decimated. So, anyway, hi.
Is that because the hiring need that they've gotten decimated, or is it because AI has taken over stuff that they could be doing?
It depends on the company. Some of the folks who I know I used to run career centers at business schools, so I used to work with a lot of the really big tech companies. Some of the really big tech companies, they really feel like their ATS systems can just do it now, is kind of what I've heard. And then like you take a company like IBM, they've stopped hiring anybody who they think AI might replace. And one of the big areas that they targeted was HR.
One of the things that I work.
I'm not saying that they should. It's just weird. Being on the other side, it's weird to watch.
Let me ask you this, if this is on, because you've been in that world. For 6 months, I worked with a company, major company, and got paid some good bucks. But they had a system where you applied, and then they ranked you.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be like, because it's such a big company, they'd have like, on day one, like 150 people would apply. And then there would be like 10 that they would say, these are ideal candidates, and all the rest were rejects. I started digging into the 90 that, or the remainders that were rejects. I found the ideal candidates in there. My thoughts were, the people that are recruiters working for them, or HR, if they had no recruiters that were expected to call these people, they didn't have enough time to go through the rest like I was. And instead, they were looking at the 10, hoping to find something. And then all of a sudden, they're called on the sexual harassment, the plant's come down, this happens, that happens, and they're doing a million different things. But people were relying on the computer to tell them who were qualified, because they didn't use the keywords or whatever else. That was my belief. Is that a true belief, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it depends on the company. So, if it's from like a university setting, you might get like a code to bypass ATS, right? If you're recruited that way, and you might get grouped differently. But I think as long as for certain positions, it's about getting the good enough candidate, and not getting the right candidate. So for like a C-suite candidate or a really precious candidate, there's going to be more attention placed on that. But I don't know. It just depends on the company. But I think that as fewer positions open, my guess is that trend will shift. But, I want my people they have to be super precise in their keywords or they're not going to get through.
So people then should, I've always told people, what we do is a history of candidates in the course of America recruiting. We submit one resume, the same resume, to every job, and that's what most people do. Instead, what you should do is tailor your resume to that job and change it, and then just store it away and just put, the company, name it after the company that you that resume that you applied to, so you can always go
Ernie,
back.
we could talk about that after. I want to let Julian do his demo real quick, and then we'll shut off the cameras, and you know what happens after.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Julian from Talent AI. If you guys want to see this, it's pretty amazing what he's evolved from 3 years ago when I first met him, and he reached out with cold email, and I should have invested when you asked me. Here we go.
Thanks for having me on, Dom. I really appreciate it. And yeah, good to meet everyone here. Yeah, excited to chat with you all and show you what we've built, and also just like I'm really curious to kind of hear from everyone, even afterward, like, it's obviously a really interesting time in just being in recruiting in general. It seems like some things are working really well and companies are scaling their recruiting, whereas others are having all kinds of struggle. And same thing with employees or the labor market. Some people can't find a job for the life of them, and others seem to get inundated with recruiter messages. It's kind of a weird time. So yeah, just really excited to kind of meet everyone and chat a bit more.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'll start like super high level, and then share my screen and kind of go through like what we built, like why we built it, and the impact of what we're seeing with the we're at about like 250 agencies now globally that use our software for automation. Now, not just on LinkedIn, but across we're now like completely multi-channel across email, like launching SMS pretty soon, and centralizing like those comm channels and keeping that candidate engagement and BD engagement like very precise, but also like automated, and be able to just get more of it out and scale what works. So we started. So I actually don't come from a recruiting background, funny enough. I come from a growth marketing and like technology background. So I spent like better part of a decade helping like VC-backed tech companies basically acquire customers through a bunch of different demand generation, marketing channels, things like that. And while I was consulting for a bunch of different companies, organically they asked me to help with hiring. Right, I think a lot of people can kind of fall into recruiting. I feel like I've heard a lot of stories like that, and that was kind of my story. Organically started a recruiting firm out of a need from like my clients at the time, and this is in like 2020, early 2021. And then that's when the light bulbs start to go off for me. I just kind of realized, started talking to more recruiters, friends who work in firms, friends who started their own firms, and just quickly kind of realized like, hey, there's a lot of stuff being done here. There's the human side that's like incredibly important, but then there's also a lot of manual work being done that doesn't require the expertise of a seasoned recruiter. And I felt really strongly that if we could automate the things that didn't require that seasoned recruiter to be doing them on like a one-by-one basis, they could spend more time doing the things that matter, right? Spending more time on those qualifying calls, spending more time closing deals, building relationships with your candidates, the things that really matter, and kind of cut through the noise, not copy and clicking and pasting in and around LinkedIn to find someone's email address, as like one example of many we'll kind of take a look at. Yeah, with that said, I'll share my screen, and yeah, we'll go through kind of like a typical workflow here on talent. So first place, we kind of start our workflow from within LinkedIn Recruiter. By the way, anyone here who's using Sales Nav, same thing in Sales Nav. We work with both platforms. But one of the first things we try to do is basically get the data out of LinkedIn Recruiter. Obviously, LinkedIn is like pretty limited as to what you can do, especially in bulk, right, with these people. You know, yes, you could send like 25 in-mails at a time, and I could, you know, go through the six or so pages that I have here and fire off those in-mails. But that is going to be pretty limiting, and that's kind of where, you know, Recruiter ends in terms of of it being effective. So I built here a logistics-based, so quick Boolean search here. I got 138 folks, and we're going to use Talon's Chrome extension to basically get this data out of Recruiter in one click over into our platform. So what I'll do is I'll click import all, and as you saw before, I said, hey, I want to create a campaign with those 138 people. So Talon will basically start to scrape all 138 people and all of their relevant data and get that into Talon. And then from there, we can do a lot of different things with this list that we're not going to be able to do out of LinkedIn itself. And a lot of the things that we do is based on our research of, hey, what are recruiters spending a ton of time doing, like week in, week out, very manually, very one by one, when it comes to finding contact information, right? Conducting the outreach, like data entry into their ATS. We're automating like a ton of those pieces. So I'm gonna let this guy do its thing. This is gonna take probably like 2 minutes to finish up importing this, and I'll get kind of notified and get some progress here as it's going. While that's happening, I'm just gonna hop over to Talon really quickly and kind of show you. This is like our cockpit, if you will, with all of our ongoing outreach campaigns for various reasons. So a lot of people, or a lot of our recruiting firms, use Talon not just for the candidate side, but also for the BD side, right? And there's some things in Talon you'll see where you can you can easily define if I'm doing a prospect type campaign or if I'm doing a candidate type campaign. But here, I can basically really easily like filter for obviously various campaigns that I've got going on. I can see my entire team here, and I can quickly filter to a team member and just see like what their campaigns are, or see all the campaigns going on across my entire team. This is where I'd be able to, at a very quickly at a glance, look at what's going on, right, in terms of the team. Up back over to here, and this is going to be in the second half of kind of this import.
How many can you take out at once?
So you can import up to 1,000 people at once is like the limit on an import. Yeah. Okay. We find, I mean, for candidate campaigns, especially, obviously, like your goal is you're doing pretty precise campaigns most of the time for candidate campaigns, right?
Yeah.
So we see the average size, and obviously different industries, you get different numbers. The average size is kind of between 50 and 60 candidates in a single kind of import, if you will, for candidate type campaigns. For the BD ones, sometimes they can get a little bit bigger, for sure. And there's different types of campaigns, right? You've got direct response campaigns, I call them, which is where, hey, I've got a role, I'm reaching out to people to fill that role, right? But what a lot of recruiters don't do, which I think is a missed opportunity, are what I call like nurture campaigns, where I can say, hey, like let's say I'm hiring an account executive in logistics, or let's say actually I'm not hiring anyone right now, but I know I've got probably 5 or 6 roles coming up next quarter that I'm going to be filling across a few different of my logistics customers because they've, you know, tipped me off that they're going to be hiring next quarter. I probably want to just start connecting with at scale logistics AEs that I haven't connected with before, and basically offer myself as a resource to them. And we actually have templates for that kind of thing built right into Talon, you know, and the messaging for that kind of campaign is stuff like, hey, not hiring right now, or like not reaching out about a particular role, but like I specialize in logistics account executives. If you're ever looking to move or on the market, or you want to know anything about what the job market looks like right now for logistics AEs, feel free to use me as a resource, right? So you're basically just offering value. You're not asking for anything. And the connection rates on that type of message are actually really high.
Yeah.
So as we can see, import was successful. I'll then click on create my campaign. And now Talon's going to basically walk us through like all the steps we need to get this this campaign launched. So one of the first things I'll do is define what kind of channel we want. I can say, hey, I want a multi-channel, or if I want to just reach out over one specific channel, do email, in-mail. These are DMs on LinkedIn. These are connection requests. We can do that. But most of the time, you know, multi-channel is where it gets powerful. And then, like I mentioned, we can define if this is going to be a candidate campaign or a prospect campaign. What this does is if it's a candidate campaign, as you can see, I'm connected to Bullhorn right now, but we're connected to, you know, pretty much all the major ATSs, especially ones that are used by agencies, you know, Crelate, Recruit CRM, Loxo, all of them. And I can actually associate this with a job in that it'll pull this in from my ATS if it's a candidate campaign. If it's a prospect campaign, I can actually hook up to the CRM side of my ATS. Like let's say, for example, in Bullhorn, you can have contacts, leads, or candidates. So if I do this, then that means all of this data is going to get ported into Bullhorn as a contact or a lead, not as a candidate. So it's useful in being able to basically segment between how you're integrating with a CRM and ATS. So I'll say the prospect campaign here. And now it's really build our own journey. We're now in step 3 here. So as you can see, I can click to basically add my first step, in which point this really is whatever you're doing today that works really well. And we see, you know, quite a few recruiters like to have their own cadence that works for them, right? They say, hey, I like to start with an email. I like to get their personal email if I can. But if I can't get their email, then I like to send an email. Or I like to send a connection request. And so Talon will just in the next step, we'll see how we get people's contact info, but it'll automatically know, say, hey, we got the people who we have email, we're going to go down the left side of this branch. The people whose email we couldn't find, we're going to go down the right side of this branch to totally automate it for you, right? And you can obviously write out your messaging. We can input, you know, these markers of some basic personalization, first name, last name, etc. And then we can continue to build this out, right? I can say 2 days later, I want to send an email, and then I'm going to end this off with a connection request 2 days after that. And maybe I'll actually finish with a final follow-up email. Also kind of cool, we can do different automation if they accept or if they don't accept the connection request. And I can put a time limit here, say, hey, 5 days pass, no, they don't accept the connection request, let's send another email. So obviously, like, this can get pretty powerful in terms of the flows and the journeys that you kind of build. But of course, we have a ton of stuff like pre-built here, sort of into Talon. So I want to go ahead and then run an email first with LinkedIn fallback for candidates. We have a campaign for that. We also have a bunch of templates built out for BD. Like if you're doing most placeable candidate campaigns, Talon's really good for that. Targeting companies that are currently hiring. There's a filter for that on Sales Nav, which you can then use this template with, stuff like that. But I'll go ahead and I'll do this guy right here. So I'm going to say I'm going to just change up the details here so that this makes sense. Cool. We'll do that. So I'm just going to change FinTech over to logistics. Great. The rest of this is all built out and I go continue. Cool. I just get a couple of quick sample type. This is a preview, make sure structure's good, all that kind of thing, spelling mistakes. Once I'm happy, I click create campaign. And now everybody we've imported is in this list. And there's basically 2 things we're going to do before we launch this campaign. First thing we're going to do is we want to get contact info, right? One of the really cool things about Talon is by getting a subscription on Talon, you basically have a subscription to all the major data providers when it comes to contact info. Think like Lucia, Contact Out, Rocket Reach, you know, all the, not Zoom info, but funny enough, they won't sell us their data, but we actually have better personal email coverage than Zoom info because we became a wholesaler of data. Basically, we've got partnerships with all of them. And then what that has allowed us to do is say, hey, I want to get someone's personal email. Let's say you just click enrich. And now for this full list, we go to every single one of those data providers until we get a match for the people's personal emails. And so I'll X out of here, and this guy will let us know kind of where the progress is at here. It'll take a few minutes. And we're basically real-time validating all of their contact information. And we've emphasized very heavily on quality. So we have a 97% deliverability rate with all of our email data. So it's quite good. We basically won't take in a new data partner unless, you know, it's pretty high quality. Cool. So that's second last thing we have to do. And now the last thing that we would do kind of while that's enriching, if I click on anyone's profile here, what you'll see is over here on the right, this is enriching as well. This is actually getting like all of the important data points from their LinkedIn profile. So this is pulling in their LinkedIn bio. It's pulling in a detailed description of the company that they work at right now. It's pulling in their work history, a description of all of their work history, all of those things that you'd find on a LinkedIn profile that you might use to personalize some of this messaging that goes out. So this will probably be done soon. This will take a couple of minutes. But basically, there's two options we have for now, further personalizing this list before it goes out. Some people really like to go through and personalize each message. You can do it really easily on Talon now before you send this out. So I selected everybody in the list. I'm going to click this personalize button, and I can actually use this data. It'll pop up shortly, and I can change up the I can add to or personalize the messaging here in these first messages going out, and then very easily kind of basically save that. And now this message for Sean here is completely personalized. And when I'm done, I can just go over to the next person and continue to kind of do that. Now, obviously, that's manual. So what we also did was we built out a way to do that at scale for all 136 people on this list. And if you see this button right here, we trained rather AI that can take all the context and all the details from that LinkedIn profile and will very subtly, and we tried to put a lot of thought into this because there's a lot of AI personalization tools out there that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think they do a great job, and it sounds like AI, right? And it's a lot of stuff where as a recruiter, if you're like, I wouldn't feel confident sending that out, you don't want to be doing that. So what our AI tried to do is to very subtly inject like a line of personalization somewhere in your base template so that it creates relevancy. The goal of that line that we inject using AI is to basically say like, hey, like this is why you're a good fit for the role, or of all the things I'm saying in my template, drawing a parallel between your experience, your LinkedIn bio, right, all your personal details, and the role itself. And what's also really cool is you can basically at that point, and this hasn't done enriching yet. Once it does, I'll run it. But at that point, you can actually check the results of the AI, and you can accept or deny it for each person if you wanted to. So it's a way to kind of build trust and see what the AI is doing, and then say, hey, great job. Like you did a good job personalizing this message. You go to the next message, and you can say, oh no, this sounds weird, or this is a little off from how I would do it, and we'll actually learn from that. And because we're learning from that, it'll get better and better every time you use it because we kind of know your style, which is, kind of an interesting problem. And the goal is increasing response rates, right? There's so much noise out there that candidates get. If you can find ways to like cut through that noise, that's going to be huge for reaching out to folks. Cool. And so basically now this stuff is running, all this stuff is enriching. I can leave, I can come back. I don't need to necessarily keep this open or anything like that. And then once this was kind of done doing its thing on both the AI personalization and the enriching of contacts, I basically I can turn on my campaign and I can say, hey, like how many people do you want to send this to on a daily basis? We can do like up to 50 per campaign. And I can say, hey, I want to send this out tomorrow. I want to send it out immediately. We can do all kinds of settings around like what time zone they're in, things like that. But yeah, this will all come from like my LinkedIn profile, from an email address that I hook up to it. Once the campaign is live, it's running. And what we're working on right now, which is getting released in January, is actually a central inbox for everything. So one inbox for all of your conversations on LinkedIn, on InMail, on email, and then SMS is also coming out in January. So we're centralizing all those communications, so you're not hopping from app to app while this is all happening. And even better, everything, the conversations, the data, creating contacts is all connected to my ATS. So everything I'm doing here is getting reflected in my ATS. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's creating a really strong candidate campaign in just a few minutes in Talent. Yeah, would love to hear any questions or anything like that, or anything we want to chat about in general. Happy to go over everything in detail.
What are you hearing or seeing on too much personalization nowadays? Like some people with clay tables, right, scraping all that, it's getting too personalized. What are you hearing? Like, I just would love to hear what you see and hear.
Yeah, like I just think we're in a period, there's a wave of just bad personalization, right? If you think about it, like these tools have enabled us to do all of these things, but they don't necessarily make it good. And so you still need to have that like as a human, you have to have that skill of recognizing like what's good personalization, what's not good personalization. And I think really good personalization is going for a long time. I think there's there's a solid window here where really good personalization is going to completely cut through the noise, right? And I get, even just for like talent, right? People trying to sell us stuff. I get probably 10 or 15 cold emails a day from different vendors, and I'd say 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15, it's actually really good. And I read them and I'll actually engage with them. And even if I'm just interested in like being like, hey, like they'll mention something really specific about, like a LinkedIn post that I did. That's not just like something random that they're mentioning. It actually ties into the email that they've written me or what they're trying to, let's say, sell me. And so the marker, if I had to leave everyone with like one thing, what you care about is relevancy. Your goal is to create relevancy. Personalization, like, hey, like I noticed like we went to the same school, or like we both have, we both own a German Shepherd. Like I call that shallow personalization, right? Nope, they don't care. People are busy. It's, you know what I mean? But pointing out something that is relevant to what you are reaching out about just means you're sending them an even more relevant message. And that's always going to pique interest, because now there's like some potentially perceived value in that message. That's like my philosophy. Yeah.
Well, actually, I agree. Whenever you can bring value, right? Too much, like, especially logistics, they don't want to hear about your dog. It's like, how can you help me? And what's the value you're bringing to us? Probably Kelly said the same thing if you asked her.
Julian, I got a couple questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would this replace Dripify?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it would replace Dripify. The where I'll say like where like a lot of the differences are, if you will. So like our LinkedIn automation, if you will, really just focuses on like sending messages, tracking messages, stuff like that. Some of the deeper LinkedIn automation tools like Dripify, they'll have like more LinkedIn automation features than we will, right? Like if you want to auto view someone's profile or auto like a recent post that they did, I'm not a fan of those features, like personally. I think they're like easily seen through, and that's we purposefully like didn't build them. There are, I think, other LinkedIn automation features that are really useful that we haven't built, but that's because like we're not a LinkedIn automation is 20%, if you will, of what we do, and we're building way outside of that. So it really comes down to like how crucial are those? What are you giving up to get, right? Are you willing to give up those like additional kind of LinkedIn automation features to get emailing, data enrichment, integrates with my ATS, SMS, AI personalization, right? Yeah, I would say like, 2 out of 3 times we'll pretty successfully replace something like Shopify. Yeah.
Okay.
It
So
depends on
as far as emails, so I'm in like IT recruiting. Let's say there's 100,000 optometrists across the country. Like, how many of those emails would you be able to get?
this my question that would be like, how many of those people are on like LinkedIn? Are you able to get their LinkedIn profiles? If you do a recruiter search, can you basically pull them up in a recruiter search or a sales nav search pretty easily?
So your emails are being pulled. The emails are being pulled from LinkedIn.
No, they're not. So what we are doing is, so we'll pull the basic profile from LinkedIn, and then we take elements of the profile, like for example, their LinkedIn URL, and then we have on our back end like 6 data providers, like I mentioned, and we have what's called a waterfall. So you go to data provider 1, hey, do you have this person's email? No. Go to data provider 2, 3, 4 until we get their email. So could we, of that list of 100,000 people, as long as they're on LinkedIn in some way or another, we'll probably get you personal email, like 60-70% of their emails. Business email, we also do work emails. So like for your BD, probably like 85-90% of their emails we'd be able to get. Yeah.
And then as far as the address that the emails are being sent from, are those emails that we would have to purchase? Like domains?
You can hook up basically any inbox you would like to Talon. I'll just go back and share my screen again here real quick. So yeah, as you can see, like the enrichment finished up here, and it found, yeah, vast majority of people's emails here. And as you can see, like a lot of Gmails is usually what we try to prioritize. I can actually show you how many people here have an email. 111. So we found 111 out of 136 emails for personal emails here. And then as far as sending, I can go to like my connected accounts here, and this is the email that I've got hooked up to my account. Same with my LinkedIn.
So there's no need to have like 10 different domains to send emails from. It's not going to burn your email.
So I would, so if you're doing now, yeah, this is a bit of a nuanced question. So, or nuanced answer I'm going to give you. So Talent, I wouldn't use, if you're looking to scale email, like if you want to send 500 emails a day, Talon, you're going to want to pair another email sequencing tool probably with Talon, right? So Talon can do the data scraping. We can get you the contact info. But I would use something like a Smart Lead, for example, which they're designed to hook up 50 inboxes, 100 inboxes to a single email campaign, and then rotate those inboxes so that each inbox is only sending 30 or 40 emails a day, let's say, from each inbox. Talent is designed for like your small to medium batch sized outreach, more precision outreach. So when we have one inbox hooked up, we don't recommend sending more than 40-50 emails a day from a single email inbox. Anything more than that, and your likelihood of ending up in spam just like skyrockets. But what you can do, so Talon actually, our CSV, that you can download a CSV from Talon and upload it into Smart Lead, and it's actually because we use Smart Lead internally for a lot of our own BD as well for our scaled up stuff. If I download CSV right here, I would have created the campaign, did everything I needed, select this all, download, download the CSV, and now the CSV will work. And I can just upload this to a sequencer like SmartLead to get them to work together.
Okay. Now, as far as reaching out to optometrists, let's say that are not on LinkedIn, is there a way to get those emails?
At the moment, we're pretty heavily focused on like roles and candidates that are on LinkedIn. We are looking at wrapping in like other data sources, like besides LinkedIn, that you would use for sourcing candidates. So like we're trying to figure out a way right now to work with Indeed. That's one that we hear pops up like a ton.
Sure.
Other databases like that. So we're looking at ways to do that as well.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Ernie?
First of all, you have a very impressive program. It's really cool, and it's easy to look at it and see what's going to happen. My thoughts. You're someone that obviously got an idea. You have this plan, and you've created it. My question to you is, where's this going to go? What's the next step? What do you see?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's when we're talking about stuff like AI, right? I think there's elements of it that are, in terms of today's functionality, like a little bit overblown, right? So like when you guys were talking before about like are just companies recruiting more with AI, I don't think so. And the reason I'll tell you I don't think so is because the best thing, when you look at TA teams that are internal to companies, if you want to look at who's using the latest technology, look at their sales teams first. There is a trickle down effect of technology. Sales and marketing teams at tech companies get it first. I know that because that was me.
Yeah.
So within 3, 4, 5, 7 years, that technology trickles down into the talent acquisition teams. So I can tell you, so what are salespeople doing right now in those tech companies? They are doing personalization at scale, right? They are scraping every data source available in an individual to find useful triggers or behaviors that they can use to personalize their outreach. And they're getting pretty good at it now. I would say the top 1% are getting pretty good. And like I said, there's a ton that are just, kind of producing garbage. This is going to come to TA eventually, but TA teams are not doing it yet. I think they're buying the shiny tools. I think they're playing around with them a lot. I think we're in the early stages of that kind of happening. But the thing is that what's scary is like the trajectory of how quickly this is happening. So it's not, there's where we're at today, and then there's the trajectory that we're on, two different things. I think within 5 years, kind of like a lot of hiring will be like very, very streamlined. And I think like the things like ranking of candidates using AI right now, it's not that great. Like I've looked at a ton of tools. I've looked at those ranking systems. I guarantee everyone here could outperform an AI in terms of ranking candidates. The thing is, but we have to be honest with ourselves, knowing that it's not if that gets replaced, it's when. That's just the nature of AI. And like we can fight it and we can like not believe it, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone, a lot of people remember what tech was like 20 years ago. Like, just think of that curve and then think of it in the next 20 years. So anyway, these are like my high level, kind of plus. I think the next, getting a little more granular, the next few things we'll see. And so some of the next things that we're building is like filtering. So I'm really big on saying like, hey, like as a recruiter, you're good at saying you can really quickly build, let's say, a Boolean search or a list of 200-300 candidates. But right now you spend a lot of time getting that list from 300 down to 50. We're building AI that will help you go from that 300 person list down to 50 much faster than if you had to do it. So we're in this period of like augmented technology. Think of it as like your bionic suit. It's not replacing you yet, but you're going to be wearing the Iron Man suit for a little while. Then the next phase after that will be there's just an Iron Man doing his own thing, and you're going to be replaced, but like if for those who don't reinvent themselves or get upskill to like being able to use that stuff or implement it, whatever, that's where it gets a little stickier. And I think in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to see.
So you're suggesting we should all, I should rebuild my boy band team, go back to doing that. No. What the question I had now is, how many, how big is your team, and how does one get customer support, and how good are you in that? Because we all sign up for these programs, and the biggest thing I always hear is customer service is good, bad, got worse, whatever.
Yeah, no, great question. So like one of the things that like is a lot of the link, especially if you're using like LinkedIn automation tools and stuff like that, they're to my knowledge, they're not really based in North America. They're based either Eastern Europe or like India or like wherever. And so different time zones, stuff like that. Also they scale, right? They're a volume game. They're trying to get, they're not doing like live demos for customers, right? They are getting you to sign up and free trial, sign up for the tool. So our customer support's like a big differentiator, a very important differentiator of ours. So right on the app, you've got like live chat that connects like directly to a team member, like no like robot in between. And we're basically responding to inquiries like 10 minutes or less. Bug fixes are like same day, I'd say 90% of the time. So stuff like that is like super important. And then we do obviously demo for like pre-decision on like buying it. And then if you've got a team, especially, like we'll run team trainings and help with implementation after that.
So how much do you cost?
Yeah, great question. So we're like a per license per month model. We start at $99 a month per license. We have packages at $149 and $199 as well. And that really depends on like the volume you're doing around like how much contact information you need, or also like how much of the sort of AI features you're using as well. So we have a full credit system built into Talon. Different things cost different amounts of credits. So like for example, finding a personal email, if we successfully find it, costs like 3 credits. The way to look at credits is after $99 a month, it's basically like 5 cents a credit. So at $149, you're getting 1,250 credits a month. At $199, you're getting 2,500 credits a month. And then that's per user for teams.
And do the credits carry over?
Yeah, and the credits don't expire, which is kind of rare from what I've seen.
Very rare.
What if you go over the 2,500?
So basically, the tool will actually tell you like, hey, you ran out of credits. So it'll use as many as it can, and then we'll say, hey, you ran out of credits for these. And if you want to do a one-time top-up, you can buy a one-time set of credits to hold you over for the rest of the month. Or if you're like, you know what, I'm on $1,250 a month, I'm gonna need 2,500. You can just upgrade your plan like in the app, and you'll just get allocated the credits in real time.
Can you set it to say if it hits $10, automatically top me up to 50?
No, we don't have that yet. But for all the stuff like that we don't have, what's nice, you just message live chat, just be like, hey, can you do this for me? Someone on our team will just make it happen.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Dom. Julian, how often are you updating your data, and how often are you cleansing the data? And then secondly, if we sign up and we find bad data, do we have the ability to report it, and do we get a credit back?
Great questions, Tom. I love both those questions. So first question, something I'm actually very passionate about, and that's you should be getting in your data providers, and there's not a ton that is real-time data. So what real-time data means is that as soon as, let's say, as soon as you request an email address, let's say for a LinkedIn profile, the data provider should be in real time essentially verifying that that person still works at that company and that email address is still a viable email address, meaning that they will ping the server of the email to make sure it's deliverable. ZoomInfo, for example, still does not do this, despite being annual contracts and being really expensive. Apollo does not do this. The majority of data providers out there don't do it. So what we did is on top of our data, so we go to each of the data providers, and not only do we go through each of them, we validate it before we give it to you. And that's how we get a sub 3% bounce rate. on now. There's the reason that there's 3% is it's not a perfect science. There's room for error, but I guarantee if you go and run a campaign out of Apollo, let's say tomorrow, you're getting an 8 to 10% bounce rate. And so real-time validation is core to this working well. Also, if your bounce rate's too high, your domain gets fried. Also, the likelihood of you ending up in spam in the future increases substantially. Yeah, for your second question, yes, reporting bad data. Yeah, absolutely. So again, like we've had, luckily, it's probably going to be like a small handful of like email addresses on a monthly basis. But you can absolutely in the live chat say, hey, these folks, I got these bad emails that came back, or our tool tracks bounced emails. So we'll be able to very quickly see, hey, you got X number of sort of bounced emails, and we'll credit you back for the emails that bounced.
Awesome. You know, what you could do is you could say, all right, if I have that email, I'll trade it in for one of those bad credit. You know, update this profile that you don't have yet.
Yeah, totally.
Anyone else? All good? Well, appreciate you, Julian.
Yeah.
I'll put the link in the talent.ai right here. If you want to go check it out, try it out. As soon as my thing runs up, I'm going right back to it. So.
I appreciate that, man. Let
Which
me,
is,
yeah, go ahead, sir.
A couple more weeks and I'll be right over.
Unreal. We'll look forward to having you. And I'll leave in the chat here my LinkedIn profile as well. Also, folks, like side note, we also run like a BD lab as well. So we have a team that's dedicated just to basically helping agencies like do lead gen and stuff like that as well. So anyone has just like questions on anything related to this stuff, just feel free to reach out. Like it doesn't have to be a sales engagement. If anyone just needs help. And then I post a lot on LinkedIn too about this stuff, just kind of same as Dom does. So if we can be helpful, just let us know. Would be happy to. But yeah, thank you for having me, Dom. Really appreciate it. Good to meet everyone. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. Cheers.
Appreciate you. See you, Julian. All right. I'll stop this recording. All right. So I've been with him when he first started, and the guy is truly passionate and cares, and like Ernie, like that was my biggest question too. It's like, all right, as soon as you guys all start getting bigger, like we've seen with all these other companies, you leave the smaller ones out to dry. Just leave them hanging if they have questions, they need support. I've seen that with so many companies, and I work with a lot of SaaS companies, and their major focus right now is customer success. I mean, Adam is the CEO of FlexChain.Holdings. Tell them about your company, Adam.
Yeah, so we're basically e-commerce, retail focused, consulting, freight services. So, freight optimization, freight consolidation. We develop a bit of software too, also to kind of support some of those use cases. So, basically, so I got to meet Domenic through a shared networking group that we're both a part of. And, now we're kind of looking always for ways to kind of collaborate on different things, ways both from a networking perspective and just helping companies in supply chain.
Yep. And there's going to be a lot of that partnerships going on moving forward. Stephanie, are you hearing a lot of that? Here's what I'm hearing from the young kids coming out of school. They're skipping college. They're going to go to somebody like Adam or Ernie and say, Adam, I want to pay you for your knowledge. I'm coming right to you. That's what I'm hearing right now from some of the younger kids. I mean, some of these guys have met Tobias. I mean, they're brilliant.
We're done recording?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little too wordy in the beginning.
Yeah. So we always turn it off. There's another one.
I was like, some of my recruiter friends might not be happy with me in the beginning. By the way, I also think that's a huge opportunity for everybody though, right? As those internal recruiting departments shrink, like that's the opportunity for all the external recruiters because they're not going to get good candidates because their ATS isn't there. And I agree with what Julian said. The ATS isn't, like, people aren't experiencing AI right now. They're experiencing like this lockdown of just classic ATS that was there when I was doing HR years ago, right? That's all that's happening. They're just getting this like grinding of keywords that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to me in the market right now with my candidates. Yeah, fewer people are going to school. You all probably saw, so like KPMG announced that they're going to get rid of the 150-hour requirement for accountants.
No, I didn't see that.
So for business schools, that's pretty scary.
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of my clients already say, "Hey, we're no longer requiring college degrees. So if you have anyone good coming out, let's look at them."
I mean,
skill set.
I personally think that like employers should upskill people and send them to school while they work there. I thought that for years because I've worked with so many great candidates, but I just don't think that higher ed can. I think higher ed, and I worked in higher ed for 8 years. I ran career centers at business schools. Like, I think that they just have a lot to prove right now.
Yeah, it's a very tough. I mean, especially, because one of the challenges, I think, in terms of recruiters, in terms of companies paying for education, is just that the cost has just gone so high relative to what's being put out. Like 30 years ago, a company could pay for your whole MBA. It would be $20K a year, 15, and it's like that same MBA now is like 60, 70K a year. So like that's a very different economic reality.
Right. Yeah. It's like, go buy this course from Adam. You'll learn exactly what you need. Like, I basically got a master's course this year in recruiting salespeople with one of the guys I work with from Descartes. Like, you're not going to go to any school and learn how this guy evaluates top sales talent, right? Like, to be on a call with them 3 days a week, every week for a year, that was a master class.
Especially now with AI, honestly, so not only access, networking, et cetera, but AI it technically can ingest every textbook in the world and personalize the method of instruction for you. So it's like, yeah. So what exactly, other than the brand, what are you getting from just the school?
Right.
But also, I would also add to that, though, as you're talking to people and someone says, I'm going to go straight into this or straight into that, just make sure that they have a solid understanding of how to write properly, a solid understanding of finance. So whether that's taking one class or 2 classes at the local JC, junior college or whatever, I saw I talked to this kid who's in high school, and he's going to take over his business for his dad in HVAC. And I just told him, get a finance class, because you look at all of these guys that are in, just say, sports, they make a ton of money. But they went to school to be in sports. But if they don't know finances, you could lose it all. And if you hook up with the wrong person, they could steal all your money. So understand what you have and understand how to speak properly as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. A top 20 MBA will change your life. And there's a lot of jobs at a lot of organizations that are only open to those programs. I don't see anybody budging on that.
I think also if you're growing and trying to be part of a business and be part of that, having been, I got a law degree, I have the college degree, but I understand one thing is that I was in meetings and there was always a person that said, I don't need a college degree, but they always felt like they were trying to prove themselves even more than everybody else to show that they belonged. So a person's decision to do that, to take a college degree or not, will depend on what they can afford and what they want, but it just also depends on a lot of their own confidence in what they do.
To Stephanie's point, I mean, a top degree at a top school, carries a certain cash. It's, I guess, the question is, though, those schools will need to update their model of how they demonstrate that, because a brand only lasts for so long if the product gets, and that's, I think, the question was in this world of, college as a whole kind of losing some of the power that it once had, just in terms of, influence. And then also just, now all these other ways, with different certificate programs, mentorship programs, apprenticeships, AI, et cetera, that people are able to learn, right? Colleges kind of have to update to really be able to say, okay, here's why the expense is justified.
Yeah. Hey, are you all still getting a lot of recs right now? Or how do you guys not?
Everybody's in a different space here.
Okay.
So like you got, logistics, food and bev, hospitality, manufacturing, then it'll go all slow. Oh, this part won't, but then we'll put it on YouTube after. So a lot of people can watch it, and we'll tag your names, and hopefully somebody catches something they learn more from one of these calls. It's every Thursday, 12 o'clock. Come and go as you please.
What's the it's BizDev, what's the name of this series? BizDev Roundtable?
For recruiting roundtable, BizDev.
Cool.
Usually for recruiters, but honestly, I was telling some of the salespeople I work with, any of them can come in here. But really, a lot of the stuff that I'm learning is from these top salespeople that are making 7 figures a year, right? And it's all about providing value. Don't go out there and send a message and ask for something right away in a LinkedIn message or an email. Find a way to provide value, gain their trust, show that you're a domain authority figure, and then work your way in. And then if they need something, then you're there to help, right? But I get it when you're at the big recruiting firms, you're trying to hit KPIs. You got to call this. It's it's different for a smaller boutique firm. We don't have to do that. It's more like, I truly care about this company. I believe in Adam and what he's doing. All right, I want to recruit for them.
Or if you don't like them, you say, "I'm walk away."
Yeah, I walked away from probably 3 this month. I just didn't like their process. I didn't like the hiring manager. One of them. I was like, I'm out. But also, it's like, would I want to send somebody that I pull from a company that's been there 5 years, that's making, $500K plus, that has a family, to this company? Do I trust them? Are they have a good runway? Are they established? There's a lot of things I look at, because you're playing people's lives.
Let me ask you a question though. Most of you guys went to college? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are your kids going to college?
Me personally, unless they want to be a doctor and attorney, no. I already have an idea of what I want to do. I actually want to buy a teacher right now, because they're in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, and say, hey, this is what I want the agenda to be. Start them learning this, this, and this, and then let them go from there. And then be a savage, and then I'll figure it out the rest of the way. Would you, Ernie?
Well, my son has 3 master's degrees, and my daughter has 2 master's degrees and a culinary degree. I grew up a farm worker, right? I was one of those kids you see working on the fields in the 60s. So I grew up with nothing. And so I have a law degree, and I have, but sometimes you have to do that, and people forget that sometimes that was a dream for somebody, and education for me what got me out of the fields. So it's a different world for my children, but I always felt that they had to do it. And primarily another reason is because we're Hispanic. And I'll be very blunt. It's like I've been in those situations where they thought, oh, well, what do you know? And then they tell me, oh, I got a law degree. I go, oh shit! Oh, well, I didn't know. What school did you go to? And then once you tell them that, they go, oh, wow. And that's even dealing with lawyers. But I guess it's kind of like, I look at it in terms of, don't be so harsh in terms of disregarding the educational part of it, because that's what got you where you were.
Oh yeah. Oh, I never discriminate off of anything.
No.
I'm MEI, merit, excellence, intelligence. I don't care.
And the other thing is, if your kids are capable of doing it and wanting it, but the other thing I tell people is, it never was a question for us as to whether or not the kids were going to college. It was a question of which one. Right. And when they decide after that, if they want to be janitors or whatever, that's their own life. But again, I go back to, you have to learn how to read properly. Even if you don't go to college, very successful people who know how to read properly and understand finances, because that'll screw you up. And any small business guy who has the trade skills and those finances will be very, very successful.
Oh, I agree. Finances, marketing, self-branding,
Mm-hmm.
all of it. You learning even how to, like I was telling my wife, I want them to even learn how to do like video edits, and all this stuff, because it's all you can all mix the one. You could be, I could take on, if I went to a company right now, I could probably take on 5 or 10 roles using AI and doing the stuff that I do, if I wanted to.
Yeah, but the real trick is that's it right there. You can do what you want,
right?
Not because you have to do it. And we still don't understand why a lot of internal recruiters can't find a job when they have the skills and they can create their own.
And they don't want to bet on themselves.
Yeah,
they don't want them to give them a check.
And
Different situation. It might be bills. I don't know.
Yeah, but
everybody's got a different.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is just opportunity is there for anybody that really wants it. You just got to have the drive, because how many recruiters do we know that don't want to learn?
Right.
And here you are teaching something, and you get 17 people, and then you go on Facebook and they ask the same question: what's the best ATS?
Yeah. You know what? The people that want to learn and are naturally curious, and those are the people that I surround myself with anyways, right?
Yeah.
And even in my industry. And so, I seek those people out.
Yeah, I know you do.
Right? I seek them out, I find them, and I get talking with them, and next thing you know, I'm talking to venture capital, and then going back to, are they required? Yes, that one, for sure. They still want somebody from Stanford, Harvard, Yale, especially a couple of PEs that I work with. Same thing, right? That's just the model they've been going with, and it works. But and I'll send you this call, Stephanie. I stopped the guy and I recorded it. I think I sent you the call, Adam. I stopped him halfway through and I go, "Hey, do you mind if I record this?" Where I grew up, but nobody was taught this, like how to structure Class A warrant common stock and trade that for, my recruiting fees for equity. And yeah, I know about that, but I didn't know how to structure it the way that he did. And now he's a billionaire at 32, owns, Snowflake, Ironclad, Cursor AI.
Oh, the guy was slick. He was slick.
Good. Where are you going to learn that though? Like you know how long it took me to get in that call? 1 year. And for him to go on a call with me for an hour, I was like, I have to record this. Like I have to share this with other people. Because you're not going to get this information unless you're in those San Fran, New York networks.
No, and it's so commonplace. And, I spent so many years trying to get diverse candidates into those worlds, and it's near impossible.
Yeah.
As they really want people who speak that language, have that background, can fit in that way. Yeah. Tech's trying harder. Like they're trying harder to pry open that door from my perspective. They're trying different ways, I think, to do it, but they still don't like it. And we see it on our end, right? Like I work with a lot of my clients are product, and man, there's product manager roles. They're like, did you do this exact job with these exact people this exact way? No? Right. Okay, then we're not taking you. And I'm like, I thought you guys were supposed to be like renegades in tech. I thought you were supposed to like disrupt everything and break everything that you got into. What's with this? You seem pretty.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect example. They'll say one story. They'll say one story on LinkedIn and social media, but behind closed doors, it's
Yeah. So yeah. This has been really helpful though. I'm glad I hopped in. I actually have to run right now, but
yeah, so
I got LinkedIn with all of you, but yeah, I'll hop into the next one if you're good with that.
Yeah, anyone. You can invite anyone. This is just for anyone to learn and bounce ideas. Like,
I'll get
there's
Andy.
No secrets here. There's no secret. Hey, Andy's been on it. He's probably on a call right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
that's why I recorded him and put him on YouTube, because everyone's like, "Hey, do you have the recording?" At first, I didn't have him. I'm like, "All right, here you go."
Edit the first part out, okay?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, that was one hell of a demo, though. But that's actually kind of my theory right now, is that as much as AI might squirrel up recruiting, I think it might help candidates, because I think it might help some people get to better candidates.
Well, I've had a few candidates set themselves up with Dripify and stuff like this. And the one guy called me yesterday. He goes, "Dom, I got 5 interviews this week." I go, There you go. It's all about getting in front of the right people at the right time. Like if Adam, as a CEO, he's freaking busy, he's doing stuff all day. Like he's not going to be able to have time to have all these conversations. Like as his talent partner or whoever's going to be his talent partner, like they have to be eyes and ears on the ground for him all day. So he keeps track on his vision. And then you're just plugging away and finding the right people to fit those roles that he's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I do all day.
I think that's the thing that keeps getting lost is I'm like, it's going to work both ways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, some of them are already using it. So.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
So yeah, nice to meet you, Stephanie. Yeah, Adam. Like, I think a lot of these logistics guys in our group, they could probably use any of these tools. You know, for outreach.
Yeah. You know, it's an interesting thing actually. From a significant number of the folks that I talked with, a lot of them say that they don't do any cold outbound at all. They don't do. They just don't. They do partnerships and they go through network and word of mouth. They don't like, cause you know, and I get it, right? Like cold calling, you know, cold calling works for, in my experience, at least for certain users, right? Like people who really just prefer to be on their phone and on their feet. But like when you're cold calling people who are sitting behind their laptop all day, they usually just get irritated.
Right.
You know, and so a lot of people kind of get dissuaded when they, you know, and so they'll just kind of say, yeah, I don't, but they just won't have any cold outbound strategy at all. And I think being able to see these tools that can help you do it at scale, but also do it in a way that's personalized and effective would be a game changer. Even if it's just a, you know, a few extra leads, right? Like,
there you go. Why not, right? And then you can pick and choose who your clients are.
And then Adam, you also look at, like I talk to HR people, right? And then you figure out they're not even using AI. You know, they heard of it, and very few of them are actually using it. And you can do that with your partners and asking them what they're using, and a lot of them will say, well, you realize you're at the forefront of this, and they're not even dabbling with it. Why? Because I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And you ask,
should. And because like, I use AI, you can even see this background here is creation of AI. But it's you know, I think people are probably dissuaded just because they'll see some like really bad execution of it somewhere, right? Like some like obviously AI crafted email or and then they'll be like, oh no, this doesn't work. And it's like the people who are doing it well, you can't tell. They just look really effective. So.
That's so funny you said that. My buddy, he owns a staffing firm, and they're pretty big. He's like, yeah, I don't do it because it all you can tell when it's AI. I go, I'm sending you an email right now. He's like, damn. He's like, did you write that? I go, no. But it sounds like me, right? It sounds like it would be coming from me because this is now trained. And I mean, I use typing mine with Anthropic, Claude, you know, ChatGPT, all of them. I have all of them. They all do different things for certain things that I'm doing with the clay tables and Zapier and putting it all together and email campaigns. And it's a lot. It's like somebody that's new into recruiting to try to show them this all at once. You'd be lost. You know.
Yeah, it's, you know, and it's like, and like when people get like hostile about it, I mean, yeah, for the way I kind of see it is it's like, okay, it's just more advantage to the ones of us that are using it early, right? Like it's, you know, you're not gonna like
absolutely.
try to, it's like totally biased. It's like, okay, it's your business.
No, I've been trying to sound the alarm on it for a long time, and I'll put it on my Facebook. And hey, just anyone that lives around me that I'm friends with should probably start learning this right now. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, I know GPT. Like, just go in there and ask questions. I'm like, nah, you know, that's not AI. Like, that's just a basic, here you go. Like, you want to see something crazy? Look at this. But I also do 45 minutes of research, minimum a day on it. And I play with it all day.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of where the real, you know, growth comes from, is by actually kind of learning how something to use to your advantage.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for, right? There's all these tools that come out. I'll check them out real quick. I'll send them to a couple people like that. We have another call similar to this on Fridays, a bunch of recruiters, and same thing. Everyone's looking at different tools. How can we use that? Can I take a piece from this? Can I take a piece from this? You know, it's just, you gotta want it though. And then someone will be like you said, they'll say, oh, that's bad email. The AI sucks.
Okay. I remember the old days when people would say, I can't share information because you're going to steal my clients.
Right.
You know, and like,
I still hear people say that.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You do. I still do too.
Yeah, where it's like it's like for like they'll say, oh yeah, like for example, like especially with 4PL, right? When you're trying to offer a 4PL service that involves other 3PLs, like, oh, I don't want anybody else to see who my clients are. It's like, okay.
What I usually tell people is like, they tell me, are you afraid of stealing? I go, well, look, we all have the same ingredients, but we all cook a different omelet. And mine may be better than yours may be better than mine, but you got to look at it like that. The chefs all have the same ingredients. It's how you prepare it.
Yeah.
And so I have no fear of anyone stealing anything from me. And if you do, it was never mine anyway. So,
right. We learned it from somebody, or somebody taught me, and I'm happy to share. Here you go.
you know,
This is here's a cool link for if you want to. Here's the people that I look into all day, every day in the chat. Those are the, godfather, godmothers of AI, and so I'll sign up for all their newsletters. I'll read anything that they have coming out just to see where they're going with it. Where is it going? Where can I potentially use that? Because this is just for what I do right now. It's a vehicle for who knows. Like it's gonna turn into something.
and plus, these guys love to share too. You know, get over that. So.
Yeah, I've been trying to start selling the alarm already. So many people. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time. I'm like, well, guess what? You're not gonna have a job in 5 years, 2 years, not even 5. I probably the AI tool that I saw for recruiting that is not out yet, and I can't even share the name because it's an NDA. But this is scary. You're still going to need a human touch point for higher roles, but a lot of recruiters are going to be gone, and it's just a matter of time.
That's why you got to get my boy band together.
Yeah.
Start singing. But anyway, I got to run. Thanks, Dom.
Yeah, so do I.
I got
to jump to another call. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dom, for pulling this together. This is awesome.
No
Take
problem.
care, guys.
I'll see you later.
Everybody.
Have a good one.